Hi everybody, I'm Layton Guenther. I'm the director of Quail Hill Farm here in Amagansett, and I'm sitting here with my bud,
Jeremy Bloodstein, local chef, big Quail Hill groupie, day one. We're here in beautiful Amagansett, overlooking the valley. Life's good.
That's right. You have a long relationship with like farms and local food out here that dates back to being a kid, right? So what's that all about?
My first job, I was like 12. I worked for Peter Garnham, had this little tiny farm kind of on the backside of Quail Hill where the tree farm kind of ends. Just working in restaurants and cooking out here on the East End and in New York City. The importance of ingredients is kind of paramount, right? And I think that as a chef, sustainability is your second, number two on your job description as to where you're getting things from, who they're coming from, and why they're coming at certain times of the year. It's just ethically right, and the guest benefits because it's the freshest that you can kind of procure. I think that one of the things that Layton and I kind of came together on was a restaurant, an RSA, restaurant, sustainable agriculture, taking what the farm kind of had surplus of, and getting kind of a mixed bag of veg, kind of from left field, and then incorporating that into not only menu items but also into specials and whatnot. I think it just really kind of became beneficial for the farm and for me and for everybody else.
Yeah, and what I love about that concept as a format was that it's sort of a large format community-supported agriculture model where we take, some of many different items that are available on the farm week to week and sending them to the restaurant with a day or two's notice. But I think that really speaks to how nimble Jeremy is as a chef to be able to take a whole boatload of produce, some of which, maybe he's not going to factor into the menu night to night, but instead take it and make preserves out of certain things and, really put up a lot of local produce to just be able to pull from that all year round. And I love that. I love that about working with you as a chef.
The year-round part of it is what farm to table really means. The true farm-to-table movement is a year-round thing, and especially here in the Northeast, people are like, well, there's nothing available, and that's just not true.
Right.
I would say there's probably like a month and a half gap where you're like, really gonna have to pull one out of my hat this time.
Right.
But, between the root cellar stuff that Layton has at Quail Hill here, and preserving the harvest during the summer and the spring, really kind of pays dividends on those cold, dark, gray February and March days.
That's right.
All the dried beans are like a lifesaver. Canning as much as you possibly can, fermenting as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Pickling, everything. Like when your friend drops off like 30 pounds of habaneros and you're like, I really love you. I will make something with this.
And a cool thing about growing here too is that we are in such a mild growing climate in the state of New York that we have so much food that can overwinter in the field. So even though we will get that gap in sort of March and early April where maybe we're running out of the carrots and parsnips and winter squash from the root cellar, but we can tap into all of the kale and the collards and the broccoli and parsley and leeks and all of these other crops that are coming out, the early spring stuff, which kale Rob, put that on the map.
Yo, kale Rob. You really kind of have to think outside the box. In general, from my understanding, the CSA membership has never been higher. That's a testament to people believing in what you're doing here and what goes on here and what's happened here and where this place is going. And I think that it's given a breath of fresh air into the industry as a whole, of people just understanding hey, I run a restaurant, but there's 3 farms that were within 5 miles from me. Why am I not using them?
Right.
But it's a magical place with some really kind of magical people.
I'm Rob. I'm a farm manager at Hampton Oyster Company.
And I'm Joe Fenora,
co-founder of Hampton Oyster Company, and we're here today at the end of Little Creek in Cutchogue, just inside about half a mile from our farm in Little Peconic Bay. So I grew up in Laurel. I went to Mattatuck High School, and my brother and I wrapped up college, and we're looking for a way to have our own small business and make a living out here. And a friend of ours had actually gotten into oyster farming, and we thought this is sort of a new industry. Nobody really knows their way around, but it's a rare combination where you can be in a profitable business, but also impact a positive change to your environment. Oyster farming is the most environmentally friendly and most sustainable form of protein production. Shellfish farming, that is, most sustainable form of protein production, period, known to man on the planet. And so we thought if there was ever a business to invest in and try and grow, it's the kind where you can make a living, you can spend time outside, and you can actually do good for your environment. And so out here, there's a long history of agriculture, but there's not much in the way of aquaculture. And so growing up out here, we spent a lot of time on the water, and intimately knew the nooks and crannies of the bay. We're really lucky to grow up like that. And so we took a chance and got started in aqua farming. It takes about 2 to 3 years before you, from the day that you put stuff in the water to the day you make your first buck, or you have market product, simply because you have to grow it. And that's if nothing goes wrong. It comes usually about the size of a fingernail, and over the course of 18 to 24 months, that particular oyster seed, that shell that's the size of a fingernail, will turn into something that's about 3 inches long. And so all of that growth, or the majority of it's concentrated in the summertime. And when we put that seed in our bags, in our cages, we have to be really mindful of the volume, because it changes so quickly. We start with a batch of seed that fits in a shoebox, and when all that becomes finally market sized, it would probably not fit into a dump truck. And that happens over a couple of months, and like I say, concentrated in the summer when there's the most growth. So we constantly stock our bags and restock our bags based off of the density, so how much is in here. So right here you'll see this bag is about a third or a quarter full. So when we put seed in, we'd only fill it up over here, because in a couple of weeks it's going to grow and fill up. Some of these other bags, they're a little bit more full, and that's pretty much right on the money. We want to not really exceed too much in a given bag, because we want them to have the space to move and breathe and eat and feed. And so managing how crowded they are has a big impact on the quality of the product at the end of the season. So this machine here is called a tumbler, and it's very similar in function to, say, like a trommel. And the whole premise is that we rotate this drum, and we change the hole sizes that are in the drum, and as a result, when the product passes through, it grades by size. So smaller hole sizes here, bigger hole sizes there, and whatever's biggest will come through all the way at the end. And this particular one is set up for pulling out market size products, so we don't have to hand sort. That's about as fast as it can get. The growing season is typically for us between May and October, and that's when things get busiest. But like all types of farming, we're really subject to Mother Nature, and sometimes she'll throw curveballs at us that we don't expect, and there's a lot of this business that's just out of our control, and that really makes our growing season the most challenging, trying to pivot around things that we didn't expect or can't do much about. One of the bigger challenges in our growing season is that it coincides with peak tourist season, and in our area we compete with access to the waterfront and for access to working waterfront to get to the bays. The beaches and waterfront homeowners are increasingly competing for limited resource, limited space, and long term, we're really worried about having the opportunity opportunity to keep our boats and stage equipment and get to our farm with sort of a decreasing amount of shoreline available to us. I learned about the Peconic Land Trust through a friend, another farmer who had advised me about all of the benefits and the mission of the Land Trust, trying to help preserve space, but also preserve a culture and a way of life to the North and South Forks. And a simple phone call got me connected, and we've been the beneficiaries of a number of programs through the Land Trust. A couple of grants that have helped us purchase equipment, a couple of grants that have helped us purchase safety-related equipment, and we're tenants at two different Peconic Land Trust facilities. One that's on the water, preserved working waterfront, and one that's also an upland facility for us, where we can use some space for working on machinery and preparing equipment and whatnot. What I think is most applicable with this business, or what makes it local, is how authentic it is. We purchase our seed from a hatchery in Southold. We sell our product to restaurants and wholesalers on the North and South Fork, and we grow it right here in Peconic Bay. There's very few businesses, I think, that really rely on their community from start to finish to produce a healthy and environmentally beneficial product.
Nothing really better than that. It's hard work. It's, you feel like at the end of the day, you feel like you really did something that day. It's very worthwhile.
Any folks interested in learning more about our operation and seeing the nuts and bolts and the day-to-day can check out our Instagram at Hampton Oyster Co. and our website www.hamptonoysterco.com.
I'm Jessie McSwane Marcus. I'm a Stewardship Manager at Peconic Land Trust, and here at Charnews Farm, I help manage the Community Garden Program. This garden program provides a place for people in the community to learn more about growing their own food. It provides irrigation and fencing to protect the crops and feed the crops. It also comes with some built-in assistance from the property manager here, and also the people who run the garden program. And what's really special about this place is that there's so much space that it allows the community gardeners to grow excess food, and then it's donated to CAST, which is a food pantry located in Southold.
Hi, my name is Frank Arnold. I've been here at the Ag Center Community Garden. The second year they got underway. I retired from the job I had. We weren't sure we were going to live after that, and we ended up over next door in Founders Village, and I became aware of where I could have my next garden, which was here. So it's been a nice experience. It's close at hand, and kept my hand in the gardening business. It was fenced off and water was available. It's really been ideal.
Hi, I'm Carol Brown. I'm a first-year Charnews Farm gardener. I particularly wanted something not too big. At home, I have my pollinator gardens and just a little bit of space for vegetables. So I thought that this was good for growing more vegetables and meeting people and being part of a community.
Unlike a lot of the gardeners here, which is a nice thing, but they tend to grow a few samples of a lot of different things, whereas I kind of concentrate on a few items, but that produce quite a lot, and it gives me enough for our family, and I give and share a lot of my produce. So it's what I grow. As you can see, I grow an awful lot of peas, which we shell and freeze. The beans will follow that. I had tons of lettuce here. The heat is getting to that, but in the last couple of weeks, I've given literally bushels of lettuce to anyone that would take it. And of course, we have tomatoes. A lot of my success I attribute to. I started in with composting years ago, almost from the beginning, and on a much larger scale than most people are able to do. So. After I get my seedlings up, I'll get some commercial potting soil, but I mix it with my own compost, and that gets them off to a pretty good start.
Right now, we're in front of the plot that we have set aside for a local preschool that actually operates mostly in this field and on other property that Peconic Land Trust owns as well. And the idea here is that the children get to play and learn outside. They get to experience what it's like to grow their own food, as well as their own flowers. They learn about pollinators and how to take care of what it is that they're growing. And so we do have kids on a daily basis running through the garden. They get to taste some blackberries and some raspberries, blueberries that we have in community spaces. And that's a really great experience for these kids to connect to what feeds them. And so we're happy to be able to provide a space for that.
I mean, if you look at the whole property over here, it's being used in such a great way. A lot of small farmers and micro farmers and people. I've met a whole bunch of people who share their extras if they have, but also, help with anything that you need to, with all the information that somebody would need. And it's just a very nice community. It's important work, number one, to be able to feed ourselves. It's important that we use the land appropriately and respect the land. And we live on a very special place in the world. We are 35 miles long by 2 to 3 miles wide, surrounded by some very high energy waters. And if we don't take care of Mother Earth, who will?